It's for fair use, fair use, fair use. And for educational purposes only. Again, it's for fair use, fair use, fair use, and for educational purposes only. This is not for any types of monetary gain. Alright. It's your boy Nayab. I'm back with a news update.
Hailstones on I-70 outside of Bovina, Colorado. Well, what are you thinking of the aftermath?
Oh, crazy. I've never seen hail like that.
This is breaking news. Russia just warned the United States of a nuclear attack if we continue to help Ukraine. Russian officials are coming all over Russian television screens saying that Russia will retaliate against the United States and we could face a radioactive tsunami from Russia's Poseidon nuclear torpedo, all because America is sending Ukraine long-range weapons. And now the United States and NATO just ramped up support, sending Patriot missile systems, drones, and tactical arms to Ukraine, and Russia says that is crossing the line. They now claim any Western-backed strike on Russian territory could trigger a nuclear retaliation. I mean, last year, Putin did change the rules, saying that even conventional attacks that threaten sovereignty could justify a nuclear response. So this is not just Russia posturing itself. Russia is building up 5 nuclear bases, including Arctic and NATO border outposts. Satellite images are now showing reinforcements, bunkers, and mobile launchers. So this is Russia's warning. This is breaking news.
Chat, they saying that there's currently a 217-mile wide pallet of rocks headed towards New York underground. Yeah, 217 miles wide. They say right now it's currently under the Appalachian Mountains. They say it's about 127 miles deep underground. They're calling it the hot blob. Chat, they said it's not causing any major storms or like volcano eruptions, earthquakes, anything tragic to the Earth's core. But I wouldn't too much worry about this thing, chat.
We are learning that a medical transport plane crashed on the Navajo Nation in Arizona, killing all 4 people on board, according to local police. A plane was on its way to pick up a patient from the hospital when it went down. Right now, we don't know what caused that crash. The FAA and the National Transportation Safety Board are investigating.
After reviewing the science and consulting top experts at NIH and FDA, HHS has determined that mRNA technology poses more risk than benefits for these respiratory viruses. That's why, after extensive review, BARDA has begun the process of terminating these 22 contracts totaling just under $500 million. To replace the troubled mRNA programs, we're prioritizing the development of safer, broader vaccine strategies, like whole virus vaccines and novel platforms that don't collapse when viruses mutate. Let me be absolutely clear. HHS supports safe, effective vaccines for every American who wants them. That's why we're moving beyond the limitations of mRNA for respiratory viruses and investing in better solutions.
All right, we got some breaking news coming in that a third person has now lost their lives up in New York City, over in Harlem, over this Legionnaire's disease. It is now not just a warning. They are now taking precautionary actions to hopefully stop the loss of lives of what's happening over this, as there is a bacteria coming in from one of the showers, the sinks, the bathtub faucets. Normally, if you know anything about this disease, it happens in lakes, it happens in rivers, but it can happen in your homes if you are having bacteria or dirty or infected or whatever, if it's not a cleanly place. So again, I'm reaching out to everybody over in New York City, over in Harlem. Share this with your family, share this with your loved ones.
Raw milk from one farm is causing a rise in E. coli cases in North and Central Florida. Health officials say more than 20 people in that part of the state have gotten sick. 6 of them are kids under the age of 10. Raw milk, of course, has not been pasteurized, so it has more germs than regular milk. Now, officials are warning people, hey, you might want to think twice before you drink it right now.
You have to pay to enter the United States.
The U.S. government is pushing forward with a new proposal. In the future, visitors from certain countries will be required to pay a visa deposit of up to $15,000. This money is not a visa fee, but a security deposit. The purpose of this plan is to prevent visitors from overstaying their visas. The list of affected countries has not yet been fully disclosed, but White House officials have indicated that the target is high-risk countries. According to the information currently available, the deposit will be refunded after the visitor departs legally, but will be forfeited if regulations are violated. In other words, you must use money to prove you will leave. Many immigrant organizations have raised objections, arguing the policy may create unfair barriers for middle and low-income countries. The Trump administration has...
Trump just said, and I quote, "We know exactly where the so-called supreme leader is hiding. That's Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, the head of Iranian regime." And then Trump adds, quote, "He is an easy target, but we're not going to take him out, at least not for now." Think about that for a moment. He could give the green light at any moment, but instead he's warning Iran, stop firing missiles at civilians, stop threatening American troops, or you're next. And it gets better. I know. You're thinking, how could this get any better? Trump says we've got total control over the skies of Iran. What about their air defenses, though? Can't touch American power, baby. He's flexing hard. F-35s, drones, satellites, surveillance, all of it. And then he ends with just 2 words: unconditional surrender in all caps. That's not a suggestion. That's demand. Trump's not bluffing. He's playing real-time 4D chess with the entire Middle East.
Fox Weather, Hurricane HQ, and we're still watching Tropical Storm Dexter move out to sea. Look at this beautiful satellite imagery there. We've got some strong winds that are helping to carry it off to sea. It's an interesting storm. We've been watching this. So when this one spun off that stalled front off the southeast coast, and as it does its own thing, has nothing to do with the rain that we're talking about now, but it's very interesting to watch. There it is, Dexter. Of course, the Atlantic Basin coming to life, almost like when we flipped the switch to August, everything started to bubble up, right? Well, what's going on with Dexter? Right now, the winds are at 45 miles per hour, continues its journey at east-northeast at about 13 miles per hour. It may actually intensify, and it may actually pick up some speed. And you're thinking, well, look at this. It's all being shred on the eastern side. Yeah, in fact, the center of the circulation there has been completely exposed, and all of those thunderstorms are just blowing off of this. But the reason being is we've got that jet to the north, and what that's doing is this is riding along the southern side of that. That could intensify some of the winds, perhaps bring it up to a low-end Category 1 hurricane. We're still at 70 miles below that on Friday, but it is going to intensify before it starts to become post-tropical. Let's talk about those winds, right? Here's the journey it's been on.
Yeah.
We have big news right now. Donald Trump is threatening a federal takeover of Washington, D.C., even subtly threatening some type of military action when it comes to Washington, D.C., militarizing D.C. He said, crime in Washington, D.C. is totally out of control. Local youths and gang members, some only 14, 15, and 16 years old, are randomly attacking, mugging, maiming, and shooting innocent citizens, at the same time knowing that they will almost immediately be released. They are not afraid of law enforcement because they know nothing ever happens to them. The law and DC must be changed to prosecute these minors as adults. He goes on to say, if DC doesn't get its act together and quickly, we will have no choice but to take federal control of the city and run the city how it should be run and put criminals on notice that they are not going to get away with it anymore. Perhaps it should have been done a long time ago. Then this young man who he's referring to would not have gone through the horrors of violent crime. If this continues, I'm going to exert my powers and federalize the city. Here's the thing. I live in Washington, D.C. Crime is normal. It's as normal as it is in New York, Philadelphia, any other big city. Crime is not worse than it has been in previous years. Yes, there is crime, but this is not a situation where Trump should be federalizing the city, but here he is. So spread the word so more people know and follow along for all the news you need to know about.
This is a big issue for society in general, right? Which is, if AI, how quickly is it going to displace jobs? And what do you do about it? We have been watching this really closely. We've been communicating with our drivers to make sure that they're aware, for example, when we launch into an Austin, when we launch into an Atlanta. And for example, it's a really small use case with Austin. We're seeing there's so much demand coming in, consumer demand. It could be partially because of our partnership with Waymo. There are lots of riders who are excited about using Uber and or excited about being matched up with an autonomous vehicle, that the demand growth at this point allows autonomous and humans to coexist and to do well. So drivers in Austin are actually making more than before we launch autonomous. You know, there will be a tipping point, but I think that tipping point is going to be years forward. But it is something that we're going to have to think about in terms of how does society react. We're going to be very, very transparent with our drivers and set expectations accordingly.
We have breaking news now. Fort Stewart Army Post in Georgia currently is under lockdown and assessing a threat. Local reports say it is an active shooter that they are looking for. The commander there just issued that lockdown. It includes Wright and Evans Army Airfield and Fort Stewart schools. We are monitoring the situation. We will bring you any information as we learn more. So the commander has put that base and other areas on lockdown, and he's told everybody to close and lock all windows and doors.
Energy is down to $2.20 a gallon now for a car. It's down to a level, you're down, I guess, around $65 a barrel, but it's going down. There's tremendous energy. And if you notice, OPEC and OPEC Plus, they're drilling more. They want to drill more because I think they want me happy. Because if energy goes down low enough, Putin's going to stop killing people. That'll be nice, even though they're his own people that are dying, him and Ukraine. But Putin will stop killing people if you get energy down another $10 a barrel. He's going to have no choice because his economy stinks.
You have also been, I guess dovish is the word, on inflation. You have not thought that there was going to be necessarily a big impact from the tariff regime.
That's right. And I think the biggest takeaway is, first of all, if you look at the inflation report, the goods component that are tariff driven, it's been only mild. But also, if you use the same inflation measure Europe uses, which is inflation ex housing, we're actually under 2%. The Fed, if they were the ECB, would be cutting right now.
That's interesting. So by the end of the year, or what target are you using now, and what time frame?
I think we're going to rally pretty strongly in August. So I think we can get back to 65 or get to 6,600 all-time highs in the next couple weeks.
And then
first it was 60-year-olds. Now it's 14-year-olds being recruited by Zelensky and to fight and die in NATO's proxy war against Russia. You can't make this up. Ukraine to launch military training for teenagers as young as 14 years old. The Defense Ministry is pushing for early paramilitary education amid struggles to maintain recruitment levels. Ukraine is set to introduce a national program of military instruction targeting teenagers as young as 14, a senior Defense Ministry official revealed on Monday. All of this coming amid struggles to maintain recruitment levels. Ukraine's armed forces rely on mass compulsory conscription, but the campaign has faced growing public resistance and complaints about its abusive execution. The authorities, meanwhile, are pushing for early-stage education to instill what they describe as nationwide culture of resistance. So this is stunning, this idea that we're going to start throwing 14-year-olds into the meat grinder, all for NATO's proxy war.
Today, Apple is announcing that it will invest $600 billion, that's with a B, in the United States over the next 4 years. That's $100 billion more than they were originally going to invest. And this is the largest investment Apple has ever made in America and anywhere else. And it's just an honor to have you. As you know, Apple's been an investor in other countries a little bit. I won't say which ones, but a couple. And they're coming home. Today, Apple is announcing that it will invest $600.
Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. said Tuesday he's canceling contracts and funding for 22 vaccines developed using mRNA technology, including the COVID-19 shots that save millions of lives after their rapid development in 2020. The funding cuts could also impact research into using mRNA to treat other diseases, including cancer. This comes just a week after Senate Democrats launched an investigation into RFK Jr.'s firing of a CDC vaccine advisory panel, replacing them with unqualified appointees, many with anti-vaccine views. Human Services Secretary Robert F.
I have the unpleasant duty, sadly, to announce a national tragedy involving the crash of a military helicopter this morning around the Adansi area in Ashanti region.
I thought it would get better, but it never did. It's inhumane the way that they're keeping their residents. When I got there, it was overwhelming.
She shared her state of Florida credential, which lists her position as a corrections officer.
They said it was going to be 5 days on, 2 days off. I was aware that it was going to be the alligator Alcatraz. We had to use the porta-johns. We didn't have hot water half the time. Our bathrooms were backed up. It looked like an oversized dog kennel.
She says each tent had 8 large cages.
Each pod holds 35 to 38 inmates. They have bunk beds in them. They have no sunlight. There's no clock in there. They don't even know what time of the day it is. They shower every other day or every 4 days. The bathrooms are backed up because you got so many people using them.
On rainy days, she says, the water pours into the tents.
Not everybody there is a criminal. These people are still human. You pulled them from their livelihood. They're scared. They don't speak our language.
Lindsay says she was fired from the facility after she caught COVID and was accused of altering medical paperwork submitted to the company. She denies the allegations and says she's coming forward because of what she saw.
And yeah, I was fired. And yeah, I'm pissed off. But more so than ever, they're doing wrong.
Here's a live look at Boston, Massachusetts now as we check back in on one of our top stories, anti-Trump protests taking place across the country today after a tumultuous week, to say the least, on Wall Street and the economy. We want to point out, just a few minutes ago, we did show you a protest. We said it was Boston. It was not Boston there. It was an unrelated protest. But what you are looking at right now is Boston, and I'm from there. I can recognize this. This is the plaza right outside of City Hall in downtown.
From a war zone to a safe zone tonight, 3 children hurt during the war in Gaza are in the Bay Area to receive critical treatment. NBC Bay Area's Sergio Quintana was at SFO as 2 of the children arrived just a few hours ago.
It was loosely contained pandemonium at the International Arrivals Terminal at SFO as a crowd waited to greet 14-year-old Leon and 6-year-old Ghazal from the war zone in Gaza. They are the latest children brought to the Bay Area for medical treatment by a group called Heal Palestine.
Now, it's one thing if they from here, but if they're not from here and they're bringing Palestinians over here, why the fuck is y'all bringing them over here and not sending them, like back to like their home country? Why are you sending them here? Why are you sending the people from Gaza here? Send them to fucking Lebanon. Send them to wherever they need to go, bro.
Their wounds are traumatic, and the group says just getting them here for treatment was a major challenge.
The logistics of getting them out is also a nightmare. So the Israeli government has to approve of their release. And so, like one of the children who's coming today, he's been on a wait list to get out. He's had his medical visa since, I want to say, like November of last year.
The 2 children who have arrived today and a third who arrived yesterday are each going to be going to 3 separate hospitals in the Bay Area for specialized treatment. 8-year-old Anas survived an explosion that killed his father. He suffered injuries to his legs and will be treated at a hospital in Oakland. 6-year-old Ghazal was also injured in an explosion. She's headed to a South Bay hospital. And 14-year-old Leon, who was burned and injured by shrapnel in an explosion at her school, will be treated at Santa Clara Valley Medical Center. Along with their injuries, these volunteers say each child also has additional issues that will affect their treatment.
Nutrition is very, very important for burn patients. So yes, she's extremely malnourished.